I'd like to start off relating La Raza Unida to the vehicle of the Chicano movement. The Chicano movement, some years ago, was considered an impossible dream. La Raza Unida was considered an impossible dream. And this is a historic day for everyone that's here. And maybe everyone's name will not go down in the history books, but you've taken part in creating history. The one thing we want to establish is that the Chicano movement, its concept and philosophy of self-determination, of even sovereignty, cannot be prostituted by politics, although politics can be incorporated into the Chicano movement. And La Raza Unida is that vehicle that can bring forth all the leadership, all the thoughts, all the feelings, and also attack all the issues and to change the lives for the total number of our people, the masses of our people that may not be here but who you represent, those who never go into conferences, those who are in prisons, those who are in street corners, those people, young men who are in the barrios, in the campos, in the ranchitos, that we can incorporate those ideas into La Raza Unida, that we came here as an independent party, and that our wishes are that when we leave as a united independent party. We'll be discussing, and I know there'll be many resolutions and points of strategy passed today, and in the hands of the young and the old, in the hands of the people. And the principles of this party will be decided by those resolutions and by that strategy, where La Raza Unida will go from 1972 to 1973 and forward. We'd like to discuss the fact that in most of the states, particularly ours, I can speak for, have taken a position of no compromise to any other party or any other candidate of any other party. We cannot negotiate from a position of weakness for anything that we want for our people. So that we have to organize ourselves into a position of strength. La Raza Unida is born nationally. La Raza Unida then must become independent and concerned with the very, very sensitive needs of our own people, based on the past performances of the two-party system. To negotiate with Nixon is to negotiate with Spiro Agnew, with Laird, with all of the generals in the Pentagon, with the industrialists and corporate structure, with the Gulf partner, the son, the godson of the Godfather who's protecting the interests of the Cosa Nostra and the Mafia, Frankie Sinatra. And then we have to look at the other party and look at McGovern, who comes into a candidacy, into a nomination arm in arm with Richard Daley, the pig from Chicago, who has given more power to a racist, white Southern bigot. Whether he wins or loses, George Wallace will have more power than 15 million Mexicanos, let me tell you that, through the committeeships of the Southern bureaucrats and Dixiecrats. And that's his partner. Promises can be made, but promises are hard to be kept when you don't control a Senate nor a Congress. We've had promises made before. In either case, the Chicano has come out on the short end. In either case, the only results that have come for the Chicano community has come from our reaction, has come from the marches and the struggles and the pickets, has come from the demonstrations, has come from the blood of our martyrs, has come from the cries and the screams of our children who dared to face the man, while the intelectuales sat in the back room waiting to come in to be the carpetbaggers to pick up the program monies. And this can't happen anymore. Then we view our candidates not so much as politicos who try to outshoot each other, who try to play chess. We view them as activists. We view them as leaders of their people, committed to their people. And this is the difference between the RAZA Unida candidates and the two-party system candidates, who are beholden to all the vested interests in this country that relate to money and capitalism. So we say that there is a monster with two heads that eats from the same trough. Nixon appointed your famous Governor Conley to a position of power within his cabinet, within his establishment. McGovern comes in with Shriver, who for 3 years has been serving a Republican president and was appointed and hired by Nixon, and today he carries the banners of the Democratic Party 1 year after he resigns to become the chosen son or vice chairman to George McGovern. We cannot afford contradictions. The Mexicano, the Chicano has been confused so often, has been used so often, and continues to be used because they use nationalism against us to get us to vote. One gringo puts on a zarape y todos los mexicanos dicen, ay, mira, parece chicano, parece mexicano y está comiendo tacos. And they vote for him. Everywhere across the country, there are amigos that have every gringo politician on the two-party system. And they can have those type of amigos. Because those amigos are working for their own personal interests. Those amigos are working for their own personal job, for their own personal interests to liberate themselves financially, because they could never liberate themselves morally nor mentally in this society when they become part of the puppets and the stooges to the men who control this country and most of the world. They can never be free. You can have $25,000 in your pocket, and if you're a cagao, a vendido, a tío taco, a malinche, you're not free because you're still licking the white man's boots. We cannot base freedom or liberation on a dollar bill. In the zoo, there are seals that balance balls on their nose. They get a fish for it, and they're fat. There are lions who stop looking at the guard very ferocious anymore because he's waiting for his piece of horse meat. And he lays in the middle of the of the cage, swatting flies off his ass, and he's not free. Monkeys do tricks and get peanuts, and so do elephants, but they're not free. So you cannot base any logical argument about the fact that it takes money to free us. It takes people. It takes people in action. It takes people who are ready to stand up for their rights. It takes people who say, when they speak of a Zapata, a Magon, that they should believe in those principles that those men live for, not just to use them as rhetoric and then squat down the minute we deal with a man when we're killing our own brothers. Because you see, in this society, there are two types of classism. Great philosopher who drank a lot of vino, but said a lot of truth. He looked up at Jesus Christ and he said about the politicos, don't bless them because they know what they're doing. That's what we have to do about the vendidos. The social structure of this country, we are understanding why we have the poorest level of education, why we have the highest percentage of unemployment, why we have the biggest number and percentage of those killed overseas. See, we're understanding and teaching each other that. We're starting to look at the system, the educational system. We're looking at the establishments and the institutions, and we're understanding those things. But you see, there are people that come in out of the barrio, out of the campos, out of the mountains, who are saying, nah, I don't understand that. That's radical shit. Until it affects him. Or he becomes an instant militant after he's hit across the head by a policeman's club. That's the fastest way to learn. One man said, the police help to organize us. Either they beat us into submission or into activity. And we're going to get started into activity. That's the difference. There are those who know exactly what they're doing when they carry their amigo de so-and-so on their sticker. They want something for themselves. There are those who know exactly what they're doing when they use the statistics of the poor, the Mexicano and the Chicano, for every kind of program to bilingual education, to stuff their own pockets in the social sciences industry. They know what they're doing. Don't ever believe they don't know what they're doing. Don't ever believe that the politicos of this nation don't know what they're doing. As they're passing legislation on immigration acts, immigration laws, passport laws, which will make you identifiable to our hermanos across the frontera. Viva! But they know what they're doing. And they know that any time that activity starts within the Chicano communities, immediately also comes one of the most horrible enemies that we have, and that's drugs. I want to note, especially to those young Chicanos, that hard drugs and the drug culture is an invention of the gringo because he has no culture. And Chicanos that follow that are... So that we don't need any more copycats. We need puro Chicanos that understand and identify with themselves and their needs. So I'd say that today, we discuss priorities. I'm pretty sure that those priorities coming from every state have to do with the aid, with the education, with the forming of a powerful bloc of people who relate to their own needs. Because if we don't help ourselves, they never have. They never have help on those levels that people will expect the masses to arise and the masses to elevate themselves. because it can't be done in the social structures of this country. You understand that Chicanos will not be needed very shortly. As farm workers organize and resist, machinery will take over. 85% of our people are in the barrios, in the urban areas. Next year it'll be 90%, because corporation owners, ranch owners don't want to deal with human beings or men. They would rather deal with machines or with slaves. And that's the difference. As our people start to struggle towards the trade unions and the skilled work, you'll find out that we're not needed anymore, and neither are black people. Go to the south, and the garbage collectors are black, and go to El Paso and Albuquerque, and the garbage collectors are Chicano, because they don't need us or don't want us on the top levels. And little by little, when they invent a machine that handles all the garbage, that handles all the refuse, that handles all the dirty work, they'll only need experiments, biological studies of a people or a cultural group that once existed but didn't have the courage to struggle. And we're going to prove differently. We're going to prove differently that they can take their studies and take their psychiatric, psychological, sociological bullshit and stick it up their ass. What we think is taking place here and has taken place, and we hope will take place into the future, is that those people that served as coordinators did a tremendous job. Because even though there is dispute, even though there is friction, there isn't one family in this country that doesn't have an argument. But when we come in front of the public and the masses of this society, we come out together. We come out in praise of each other, as long as our philosophies and our dedication is to the betterment of our people. So we hope that La Raza Unida, that leadership is developing in every barrio, in every campo, and all across from Texas to Michigan and Illinois, to California and Arizona. We hope and we're sure that though today it looks like an impossible dream, that there will not be one issue, whether it be on a daycare center, whether it be have to do with the food for a child, or the control of a school board, the control of a total community, or the control of one park and one barrio, one center, one agency, and one nation, that La Raza Unida spokesmen will be the negotiators, because the only ones that will have the courage and the support of a national body that has the fortitude and the courage to stand up and say, this is what we want. And we not only have the brains, but we've got the muscle. And that's what we need. So I'd like to say that in the area of leadership, that the leadership is coming. The leadership is developing. And there's leadership already established. And many of our dreams were, again, that one day Mexicanos could come together and have their fights, have their arguments, come out as one, and say that we have representative leadership from across this nation that can sit on a Congreso that relates to every element and level of the Chicano movement. That means it will be related to politics, economics, social struggles, unionization, the struggle for the lands, the fight and the tremendous battle for community control in every barrio that we exist in. And it can be done. Politicos from the two-party system cannot provide that. We have already started community control in many areas, with the young leadership facing the man and also gaining the support of other jefitas and jefitos. And it's been beautiful to see that happen. And that's one more of our dreams that can become a reality, that a Congreso, a national representation, to face and handle all the issues and use their collective expertise to communicate with each other across Aztlán, to let each other know of their tears and their sorrows and their victories, to create symbols like Cristal, symbols like Tierra Maria, symbols of resistance in all the high school and college blowouts, symbols that have led other people to further steps, that this Congreso, in handling the issues that are necessary for us, would take such positions as making the decision about ridding ourselves of the draft for our young men, the cream of our crop, for taking us out of wars that we didn't make, for becoming allies with Indian nations who are sovereign and deserve sovereignty and deserve freedom and liberation the same as we do, to make alliances with emerging peoples, to free colonies like Puerto Rico, to set up cultural, educational relationships with Mexico, Cuba, and all of South America, our mestizo brothers. To take up the battle in the support of boycotts that are already in existence, and to provoke more boycotts until someday, since we are tripling, we are developing 3 times faster than the total society in this nation. The Chicano is developing that fast. We know what sex and family and love is all about. Yes, in that future, that this Congreso, having been established and renewed and refurnished with new blood constantly as our young people arise, making sure that it never becomes a clique situation where people get old and conservative and tired and secure, that we always have new ideas, new progress, that we're always involved in the struggle, because there's nothing more important than the struggle. Life in itself is a struggle. Getting home after a hard night and getting in the house sometimes a hard struggle. But I'll tell you one thing. When it becomes part of the movement, when you become part of La Raza Unida, every day is an adventure. Every day is something new. Every day is a confrontation or a conquest or we did something else, that we got one step further. And that's the beautiful part about the struggle, that you're living while you're doing it, not dying like a drone sitting in front of a TV, getting a wider behind and a bigger stomach full of beer, and becoming one of the silent majority because the TV talks for them. They have nothing to say because they're stupid. And that's why they're the silent majority. I'd like to end with saying that we offer ourselves to each other, that we leave here unified, that we do depend on each other, even if sometimes the youngest child can make or bring about an idea that becomes a decision, and that should be respected, that all of our thoughts and all of our involvement and all of our energies are respected. Whether it be the vato in the street, el pinto in the pinta, the poet with his words, the writer, the teacher, the professor, the lawyers, the políticos, our students, our dropouts, wherever we are will be one people. That wherever we are, we'll speak for one people. Will be la raza unida, will be una familia entera. And I think that's the important thing, and I think that's the feeling we should all leave with when we get through with all the work, that we've gone away with creating something. With that, I'd just like to read un verso indio that has a lot of meaning, and I can't forget ever since I read it. El individuo puede ser sacrificado por consideración de la familia. La familia puede ser sacrificada por consideración del pueblo. El pueblo puede ser sacrificada por consideración de la provincia. La provincia puede ser sacrificada por consideración de la patria, por consideración de la conciencia. Sin embargo, sacrificamos todo. Gracias.